It is still a good morning, Abuja, showing on the Unity Station, NT Channel 5, Abuja. Yes, one thing I love so much is the fact that I am a woman and I'm proud to be a woman. And honestly, if given the opportunity again in another world, I would want to come as a woman. Don't get me wrong. We are part of you men also. So it's not as if I'm being biased. But of course, I have to love myself. Okay, so yes, let's talk about something that affects a lot of women and how to tackle it. We're talking about violence. So, yes, in the studio this morning, we have a gender based violence specialist. Together, we're going to be rubbing minds together. We want to know, what does it mean? Gender based violence, what does it mean? Please join me as I make welcome Zubaida Bukadkiri. Good morning.
Thank you very much,
You're
madam.
welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for honoring me.
Thank you. I love your face. I love your smile. I love you.
She said, in another world, she wants to become a woman. I'm like, oh,
Aww.
you're just speaking my mind. And we are so grateful that we are all women.
Yes.
They're trying to talk about this very important issue.
Actually.
Once again, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so for those who don't know what it is, gender-based violence, please enlighten us more.
Okay, gender-based violence is any harmful act that is perpetrated against the person's will, and that is based on the social ascribed gender differences between males and females. So looking at gender-based violence is any harmful act. Any act that brings harm to an individual is a form of gender-based violence.
Now, okay, go on. I know you want to bring out those harmful acts. Okay.
Actually, yeah. So the harmful acts may differ from
Each
domestic
other.
violence, from denial of resources and opportunities, from a lot of them. A lot of them are out there, yes, from rape cases, from sexual violence, so a lot of them. Any act that will cause harm to an individual and because of his gender, it's a form of gender-based violence.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, when we want to talk about gender-based violence, the attention is usually shifted on the female gender, and that is what we are really talking about because what to say, most of them are actually vulnerable because of a lot of things. We know with your level of experience and what you've handled, we want you to give us practical examples because we are here to talk about it publicly so that anything hidden about it can be exposed.
Yes, thank you. When we talk about, if you look at the definition, it doesn't really necessarily, align to women or men. It's a general term. It can affect anybody in the society. Men can also be victims of gender-based violence. Women can also be victims of gender-based violence.
Women are more.
Yes. So why are women more?
Yes.
Now, these are things that we need to critically look at. Now, to understand gender-based violence and how it affects women, we need to see what triggers gender-based violence in the first place. What are the causes? Now, the first trigger of gender-based violence is power imbalance. Wherever there are power imbalance in society or in the household, in office place, wherever there are power differences between males and females, that is quite, a sign that there may be gender-based violence. And then looking at the other major root cause of gender-based violence, which is gender inequalities. Wherever there are gender inequalities, there are unequal participation, there are unequal representation of both sexes, it leads to gender-based violence. And the third major root cause of gender-based violence is disregard for women's rights. Wherever there are no regards for women's rights, then there is probably, a trigger of gender-based violence. Now, just a minute, look at the power imbalance aspect that triggers gender-based violence and why we emphasize most women are the victims of gender-based violence is because when you're talking about power, we look at the first form of power, which is social power. Social power is talking about, position that you hold in the society. And we all know that most men are the beneficiaries of such power. Then the second form of power we're talking about in gender-based violence, economic power. That's access to resources, access to cash. You tend to find out that, again, in this aspect, women too are not really, equating with men when it comes to finances. But right now we have women that are really coming up, doing
Waking
other
up,
things,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
yes, trying to balance the power, differences.
Mm.
And of course, also we're looking at the another form of power that can affect an individual is the age-related form of power.
Mhm.
You look at the household now. Most households, the men are older than the women. So he has that power
That
over his
edge over,
wife,
yeah.
yes, because of the age differences. So these are the types of powers that, if you look at it generally, you tend to find out that women are mostly
Mostly
affected
vulnerable.
or mostly with this lower, power. So, and those with the power, if they use the power in a negative way, it becomes a form of gender-based violence.
Wow,
Yes.
wow.
So, yes,
I love that one, negative way. Okay, so let's talk about the consequences of gender-based violence. Some people, what are the consequences?
Okay, yes. To go to the consequences, to actually have to look at some of the forms of gender-based
Gender-based
violence.
violence.
Because gender-based violence is just like a tree. When a tree is planted, those root causes are what is planted underneath the soil. So what grows up is the form of gender-based violence. Then the consequences is actually the fruits that comes out of the plant. So to address the consequences, we can equally look at the forms. Now, the forms of gender-based violence that is mostly prevalent in our places of work today is sexual exploitation and abuse. Now, we look at sexual exploitation and abuse, like for example, bosses asking their subordinate to sleep with them to get favors from work. You would see issues where someone may be in need of help in a vulnerable position and come to look for assistance, and then they will tell you, okay, if I will assist you, you would have to sleep with me. So anything that puts people, because they're below you, and then you take advantage of them in a negative way, it happens every day. We see it at places of work. So perpetrators don't even know that, they're actually perpetrating this act because he feels he's a boss. He can sleep with his staff, because they're under him. Because sometimes again, if those people working under the bosses refuse, sometimes you see frustration. They start to treat you in a very bad manner. All these things, it happens every day. These are forms of gender-based violence that happen. And then we see issues of, also sexual violence, rape cases. Look at rape cases critically. You find out that most perpetrators, people that commit this form of gender-based violence, they are within your the household cycle. People that are close to you. Sometimes you find out that survivors are scared to report because they're scared of retaliation.
Scared to report.
They're scared of
the outcome.
Yes, the outcome, because they must have been threatened in one way or the other. If you report, I'm going to, this is what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to harm you. So they are scared of that. Sometimes they tend to keep quiet. You will see a child in a household very reserved, and then the mother will be like, "Yeah, withdrawn.
Yeah.
This is my child. She's a very peaceful child. She doesn't like trouble." But you don't know what this child is really going
some
through.
of them report,
Yes.
It backfires.
It backfires. They say our family name.
Yes.
She's very scared.
So they will even tell you just,
Fear of stigmatization, and all of that is things that are really affecting the outcome.
Okay. Thank you so much for your responses so far. Now, we want you to tell us more the role education will now play in this gender-based violence, so that everybody can have a fair hear. I should not be suppressed because of things around me. What role does education play?
Education plays a vital role in reducing the risks of gender-based violence, starting from creating education in your household, ensuring your children, understand what gender-based violence is, understand the sensitivities of their body parts, and how what they can do if at all someone tried to touch them in such an improper way. So education is very, very important, and it has to start from within the household. The parents, not just the mother, the father, you have a role to play in educating your child to understand their sensitivities and the fear of not, and they should not succumb to any pressure or threats. If anybody threatens them, they should report. That is going to build the child's capacity and confidence to be able to see, understand when something wrong is being done to him, and then how to report also. Because look at it now. I once had heard of a case. I didn't work on the case that personally, but the, the, the perpetrator is the child's father.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
And then even when the mother found out about the issue, and then she wanted to come and carry her child out of that, out of that cycle
Vicinity, yeah.
environment, the child said she's not going with her. That her father told her that there's nothing wrong in what they're doing. So you see the
I don't
power of
understand.
education, because he has made her understand
He has
that
brainwashed her.
that is it. So
Wow.
imagine if we educate our children,
Mhm.
give them an understanding
Mhm.
of these things, and if it happens, so it builds their confidence, it builds their knowledge, makes them understand how to really address this thing when it comes up.
You know, this instance you give is one of so many.
Certainly.
Yes, these are even the ones we hear about. There are so many that we're not hearing about, or even that we've heard about, but nothing is being done about it, and it is really sad because this cannot continue. So now let's talk about what we should do. In your final words, what should be done? What do you think should be done? Both from what the children need to know, what the parents need to know, and even these perpetrators. Maybe you should advise them if they're still out there.
Actually, one of the contributing factors to gender-based violence is boredom. If you are bored, sometimes it makes you start thinking of negative things to do. Just like the saying say,
An idle man is the devil's
exactly,
workshop.
thank you. So all these things, one needs to be engaging himself in day-to-day activities. If you don't have work, go get up, look for something to do with your hands, build skills that you can help you, and a lot of other things that you can do. But then, when it comes to issues of what can be done to address gender-based violence, we need to address some of the major causes, because it's just like having mosquitoes around your house. If you want to avoid, your children from getting malaria or any falling sick, you have to put nets on your windows, and you have to make sure that your environment is clean. So some of these issues have to be tackled from the root causes, like addressing gender inequalities in the community and society. And I'm so glad of what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing. It's really, filling the gap, ensuring that both sexes are actually having a good level of representation at the national level, and it's really something that is going to help in reducing those gender gaps that we have, that we always talk about, that we want to achieve. So it's actually helping in addressing gender inequality. And one thing again that we can do is to strengthen the justice system, because once the justice system is not strengthened, perpetrators keep repeating these acts. He rapes a child, he goes out scot-free. Tomorrow, if you do it again, there are no sanctions. If a perpetrator acts again, or someone else says, okay, fine, this one has gone away with it, I can also do, and go scot-free. So we have to strengthen the response system and our justice system as well.
Wow.
Thank you.
Very well said.
Yeah, very well said. And she has really nailed it. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
this
Thank
morning.
you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Too. I'm honored.
Okay.
Really appreciate
And we're proud of what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, yes, that is a word from Zubaida Bukar. She has told us a lot. What we need to know about gender-based violence. What is bad. What is wrong. And the advice here is all hands must be on deck to ensure we chase this menace out of our society completely. Now let's go on this quick break. When we come back, we'll still be here to give you more on the program. Good morning, Abuja. Anyway, stay with us.